You've heard the rumors, the stories about the dark web, the place beyond the internet, where every click could destroy your life. They say you can find anything there if you know where to look. Drugs, weapons, stolen data, even live streams that shouldn't exist. But what they don't tell you is that sometimes the dark web looks back, that I've spent years collecting stories from people who went too deep. Some never came back. Some disappeared entirely. And the few who survived, they all said the same thing. It started as curiosity and ended with something watching me. Tonight, you'll hear 3 true stories, all from the depths of the dark web, each one told by someone who thought it was just code, just a screen, until it wasn't. So turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and remember, if you ever think about visiting the dark web after this, you might not be the one doing the watching. Story 1. The stream that watched me. I was 19 when it happened. I'd always been into tech, breaking things apart, figuring out how they worked. But my curiosity went too far when I found a thread about a site called redroom.live. It wasn't supposed to exist. Everywhere I looked, people called it a myth, a snuff stream that appeared only between 3 o'clock and 3:15 a.m., accessible only through a Tor link that changed every night. They said it showed real people and real deaths, but there was also something else. A rumor that those who found the real stream would start seeing things in their cameras that weren't supposed to be there. IT sounded like bullshit. So, of course, I had to see for myself. I joined a dark web forum called The Veil. I posted a thread, looking for redroom.live. Does anyone have the mirror? A few hours later, someone replied. Their username was at rooted, no profile picture, no info. They just sent me a message. You really want to see it? Don't blame me if you do. Attached was a link, a long chain of random characters ending in .onion. My VPN was already running, Tor was open, lights off. I clicked it. The page was pitch black except for a countdown timer in red letters. It said, live in 00:0 4:37. My stomach tightened. I waited. The seconds crawled by until the timer hit 0. The page flickered once, twice, and the stream started. That IT was a dimly lit concrete room. There was a single metal chair in the center, and sitting in it, a man. His head was covered by a burlap sack, and his hands were tied behind him. He was breathing heavily. You could hear it through the static, slow, ragged, terrified. Then a distorted voice came through the speakers. A mechanical, genderless whisper. Say hello to the viewer. The man lifted his head. The camera zoomed slightly, as if it were responding to me. He raised one shaking hand and waved. I remember whispering, "What the hell?" Then the voice spoke again. Viewer number 1 connected. Do you see him? Behind the man, on the wall, words began to appear, like something was scratching them into the concrete. White chalk letters formed one by one. Do you see me? I froze. Then the man in the chair tilted his head slightly, like he was listening. And through my speakers, I heard my own voice, distorted, replayed, whispering the same phrase back. Do you see me? I slammed my laptop shut. My heart was pounding so loud I thought I'd pass out. After a minute, I slowly opened it again. The stream was gone. Just a blank black screen. But my webcam light was still on. I ripped the USB cord out and shut everything down. Didn't sleep that night. Didn't even turn the computer back on for 3 days. When I finally did, there was an email waiting. No sender, just a subject line. Why did you leave? I hovered over the attachment. It was a photo, a grainy, dark image of me sitting in front of my computer from that night. Except in the picture, I wasn't alone. Behind me, in the darkness, a faint figure was standing, something tall, with its head wrapped in the same burlap sack that I deleted everything. Threw my laptop in the trash. A week later, I got a new one. New email, new OS, clean slate. But one night, around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A notification. It was from a site I didn't recognize. Redroom.live is now streaming. I told myself it was impossible. But curiosity. You know how it is. I clicked .at first. I didn't understand what I was looking at. The room looked familiar. Then I realized it was my bedroom. Same layout, same bed, same cracked ceiling. And sitting on the bed was me. I was frozen, staring into the camera on my phone. The me on the screen blinked and smiled. Then, slowly, from the corner of the room behind me, something moved. A tall, thin figure, wrapped in a sack, began to rise from the shadows. It leaned close to my sleeping self and whispered, though there was no sound, "Now you see me." The screen went black. My phone shut off instantly. It wouldn't turn back on. When I plugged it in the next morning, the charging icon appeared for a second, and behind it, faintly, barely visible, was the same man waving. Now, every night at 3:04 a.m., I cover every camera in my house. But sometimes, when my monitor flickers, for just one frame, I see that concrete room again, and I swear it's getting closer. Story 2. The chat room that shouldn't exist. I used to work night shifts as a security technician in a data center outside Chicago. Rows and rows of humming servers, cold air, white light, the kind of place where silence becomes a sound of its own. There wasn't much to do, so I'd spend hours on my laptop, mostly browsing tech forums, messing around with code, exploring corners of the web I shouldn't have. That's how I found /room_infinity/. It was 2:47 a.m. when I stumbled on a thread titled, "Join the chat that never ends." It's been live since 1996. I thought it was some weird nostalgia project. The post had no description, just a Tor link. Curiosity got me. I clicked it. The page loaded slowly. No graphics, no design, just white text on a black background, like an old terminal. At the top, it said, "Welcome to /room_infinity/no rules." No admins, no exit. Below that, thousands of messages scrolled by, updating in real time. Each one had a timestamp and a username. Except the usernames were numbers and the timestamps were impossible. Some were dated 1999, others 2034. One even said December 1st, 2147. It felt like the chat had existed forever, past, present, and future all at once. That I typed a message. "Hello? Anyone here real?" For a few seconds, nothing. Then my screen flooded. Hundreds of replies, all from different numbers. "Welcome. We've been waiting. Don't stay long. He's almost here." I stared at the last line. I typed back, "Who's here?" A new message appeared from a user called 000000000. No timestamp, no text, just a single image. A door, slightly open, with a faint red light coming from the crack. I froze. Then another message popped up. Same user. Don't look behind you. I did. Of course I did. There was nothing but humming servers. But I swear, for half a second, I heard a whisper, like static forming words right next to my ear. A low voice repeating my username. I slammed my laptop shut and paced around the server room, trying to shake it off. But when I sat back down and opened the laptop, the chat was still there, except now. The top of the screen had changed. Instead of /room_infinity/, it said /room_Jake/Jake. My name that I hadn't typed it anywhere. A new message appeared from 0000000. He's at your door. I looked toward the security door. The red light above the handle flickered. Someone was buzzing to get in. It was almost 4 a.m. No one ever came at that hour. The intercom was silent. I checked the cameras. On screen, outside the door, stood a man, tall, still, facing away from the camera. He wasn't moving. Then he turned. His face was wrong. Not blurred, just unfinished, like the pixels hadn't fully rendered. Eyes too wide, mouth too stretched, like a corrupted file pretending to be human. He raised his hand and knocked on the camera lens. And when he did, the feed froze. The chat updated again. Let him in, Jake. He wants to talk. He's lonely. I unplugged the Ethernet cable. The chat shouldn't have been able to update offline, but the messages kept coming. Line after line. Each one the same. Let him in. Let him in. Let him in. I pulled the battery from my laptop. Silence filled the room again, except for the buzzing at the door. It didn't stop. Finally, I grabbed the emergency flashlight and walked over. Through the narrow glass window, I saw nothing. The hallway was empty. I opened the door slowly. A cold draft blew in. On the floor just outside was a USB drive, pitch black, no logo. I should have ignored it. But I didn't. I plugged it into a dummy machine. It auto-opened a folder named /room_infinity/. Inside was a single file, welcome_back.mp4. I played it. The footage showed the server room, my server room, from a high angle, like from the ceiling corner. The timestamp matched the current time, down to the second. I could see myself sitting at the desk, staring at the monitor. Then, from behind the servers, something stepped into frame. A tall, thin silhouette, the same man from the camera feed, walked toward me. I watched as he leaned over my shoulder and typed on the keyboard in front of me. The video glitched, then froze on a single frame. The screen in front of me showing the chat, and a single new message at the bottom. Turn around. I did. The flashlight flickered once, then died. In the black reflection of my monitor, I saw a movement, a faint shape standing behind me. Long fingers pressed against my shoulder, and a voice, deep, metallic, distorted like feedback, whispered, "Welcome to the room that never ends." The next thing I remember is waking up on the floor. The lights were back on. It was morning. Everything looked normal, except when I turned on the monitor. The terminal was open again. A single line blinked on screen. User 000000000 logged in AS Jake. That I've tried everything to erase that drive, that chat, that night. Nothing works. Sometimes, when my phone connects to Wi-Fi, I see a quick notification before it disappears, /room_infinity/ has a new message, and when I check the logs, there's always one sentence. Always from the same user. Still here. Story 3. The package from the black market. I never believed the stories about cursed objects on the dark web. You know, the ones people post about. Haunted dolls, cursed rings, possessed paintings that make you see things. I thought it was all role play. Until last year that I was part of a private dark web marketplace called Obsidian Exchange. You couldn't buy your way in, you had to be invited. People traded everything there: stolen data, rare chemicals, even illegal antiques. But there was one category that fascinated me: occult artifacts. Most listings were obvious fakes: pentagrams, cracked mirrors, vampire skulls. But one caught my attention. It was titled simply, Lot number 13, the object that knows your name. The description was short: hand-carved wooden idol, unknown origin, never destroy, never bury. It finds you if you do. Do not speak your name in front of it. The seller's username was Watcher_0. And the price? Only $50. Curiosity. 1.3 days later, a small, unmarked package arrived at my doorstep. No return address, no customs label. Inside was a wooden figurine, about 6 inches tall. Its shape was humanoid, but distorted, arms too long, a face crudely carved with deep, uneven gouges. And in the center of its chest was a hollow cavity, like a mouth that I smelled faintly of burnt wood that I set it on my desk. Nothing happened. For the next few days, I almost forgot about it. Until one night, around 2:30 a.m., I woke up to a knocking sound. 3 slow knocks. I thought it was the door, but it was coming from inside my room, from my desk. The figurine had fallen over. I picked it up and noticed something new. Inside the carved hollow in its chest, there was now a tiny piece of paper folded neatly. I hadn't seen that before that I unfolded it. There were 3 words written in red ink. I see you. My skin went cold. I looked back at the figurine. Its crude head was slightly turned toward me. I left it on the desk and tried to sleep, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was standing beside the bed. The next morning, my webcam light was on. My laptop was open, and there was a new file on my desktop, idle.log. When I opened it, it was just lines of text repeating the same phrase. It knows your name, it knows your name, it knows your name, it knows your name. I unplugged everything. That's when I realized the figurine wasn't on my desk anymore. I found it sitting on the windowsill, facing the street. That I threw it in the trash outside. That night, I heard the knocking again. 3 times. I didn't move. Then the knocking came from under the bed. I jumped up, turned on the light. Nothing. But the smell of burnt wood filled the air again. I went outside, dug a hole in the backyard, and buried the figurine. I even poured lighter fluid on it and burned the ground. When it was over, I felt relief for the first time in days. 2 nights later, I woke up to the sound of scratching, a slow, steady scrape against the floorboards. It was coming from beneath my bed. When I leaned over, I saw something sticking out, a small, charred piece of wood, the figurine. But now, there was something carved into its face, letters that hadn't been there before. My name. I grabbed it and threw it into the sink, ran the water, and smashed it with a hammer until it splintered. Then I flushed every piece down the drain. That night, I dreamed of a figure standing at the foot of my bed. Its limbs were long, carved from wood, its chest hollow and glowing faintly red from inside. It whispered in a voice that sounded like wood burning, You shouldn't have said your name. I woke up gasping, sweat cold on my skin. My phone buzzed. A new email from watcher_0. No subject, just an attachment. A picture.it was me, asleep in bed, the idol standing on my chest. The next morning, I moved out. I left everything behind, the laptop, the furniture, even my phone. Started over in another state. But 2 weeks ago, I got a package at my new apartment. No return address. Same handwriting on the label. Inside was a folded note. No idol this time. Just the papered I in red ink. It said, "You forgot to take me with you." I haven't slept since. The knocking started again last night. 3 times. And when I checked the front door this morning, there were burn marks on the wood. In the center, carved deep, still warm to the touch, was the hollow shape of a small figure, waiting to come in. Asterisk if there's one thing these stories prove. It's this: the dark web isn't just a place online. It's a doorway. A doorway to things that watch, wait, and follow long after you think you've logged off. Point 3 people. 3 experiences. All different, all terrifying, and all real. So next time you're curious, remember, some doors are meant to stay closed. Some messages are meant to be ignored. And some packages are meant to never be opened. That if you enjoyed these stories, if they made your skin crawl, and if you want to hear more true tales from the dark corners of the web and beyond, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts or your own experiences. Because in the dark web, curiosity can be deadly. And now, you've been warned.